So I'll just move through a first couple of slides to make sure that they advance properly.
Yeah, as of right now, it's still on the first slide. In the second, so a maroon slide just came up that says presentation Santa Rosa forward process. Yeah, I think it might be a connection issue because now we're starting to see the next slide, but it's a transition.
It's awful. Okay. Beatrice, are you in earshot here? Can I?
I'm here.
Can you open the boards and commissions folder in the events at one share file? And there's a CHP presentation. It's a PDF.
Hey guys, I'm gonna stop us real quick because we are in live now that it's 2:30. Okay. So you guys can have a chat on Teams. We're gonna put our slide back up. Just for the official record, we want to have the slide back up until we can start. Thank you.
Mike has a fourth member signed on. Has Vice Chair Fennell signed on yet? I don't see her in the list.
Negative.
Okay.
Staff Liaison Mary, looks like Vice Chair Fennell just arrived. We're going to go ahead and change our settings really quick. And Vice Chair Fennell, if you can do an audio and video check for us.
Can you hear me?
And loud and clear.
Perfect.
So with that, Chair Muser, we do have a quorum. It is past 2:30, so we can start when you are ready. If board members can turn their video cameras on.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome everybody to the Wednesday, June 16th, City of Santa Rosa Cultural Heritage Board. If we're all ready, we'll go ahead and begin. Mr. Maloney, could we have a roll call? Oh, I'm calling the meeting to order as well.
Perfect. If you can read the virtual text first prior, and then we'll get the roll.
Okay, I'll do that. Due to the provisions of the Governor's Executive Order N2520 and N2920, which suspend certain requirements of the Brown Act, and the order of the Health Officer of the County of Sonoma to shelter in place to minimize the spread of COVID-19, the Cultural Heritage Board is conducting today's meeting in a virtual setting using Zoom webinar. Board members and staff are participating from remote locations and or practicing appropriate social distancing. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting as noted on the city's website and as noted on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to speak during item, well, we don't have an item today. So, I guess, yeah. Members of the public wishing to speak, make public comment or doing public hearing items will be able to do so by raising their hand and will be given the ability to address the board. With that, Mr. Maloney, could we have a roll call?
Yes, thank you, Chair Muser. Let the record reflect that all commissioners are present except for, board members are present except for board member Gale, Garrett, and Wang.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 2, approval of the minutes. Do any of our board members have any addendums or changes to the minutes? And if so, raise your hand. Not seeing any. Okay, I think we can approve the minutes then as submitted. At this time, I'd like to open up the board for public comments. So we are now open for public comments for any item not included in this meeting's agenda. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please select the raise hand button. If you are dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. Each speaker has 3 minutes. The countdown timer will appear for the convenience of the speaker and viewers. Please make sure to unmute yourself when you are invited to do so. Your microphone will be muted at the end of that countdown.
Thank you,
Mr.
Chair.
Maloney. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Thank you, Chair Muser. At this time, we have 0 people raising their hand because right now we have 0 attendees. This not having another item other than the study session, I think we are good to move on.
Okay, so with that, we will then close public comment. Okay, moving on to item 4, board business, our statement of purpose. The Cultural Heritage Board shall consider the following matters, standards, guidelines, and criteria to the extent applicable in determining whether to grant or deny a permit, whether the proposed change is consistent or incompatible with the architectural period of the building, whether the proposed change is compatible with any adjacent or nearby landmark structures or preservation district structures, whether the color, textures, materials, fenestrations, decorative features, and details proposed are consistent with the period and or compatible with adjacent structures, whether the proposed changes destroys or adversely affects the important architectural features or features. The Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation and guidelines for rehabilitating historic buildings, such other matters, criteria, standards as may be adopted by the resolution of the Cultural Heritage Board. Let's see. Do any board members have any reports that they'd like to make at this time? If so, raise your hand. Okay. Oh, there we go. Board Member Boren.
Does this include, I received a request from Peter Stanley to meet with him next week at this project. Would I state that now or at another time?
I believe this would be when you would state that. Be a good time.
Well, okay. I've read all the items for the project, and I have an appointment with him next Tuesday afternoon at the site for an further explanation.
Board Member Boren will also ask you to give an update after you meet with him.
I will.
Only if there's new information. So.
Vice Chair Fennell, did I see your hand or no? No, okay. I also, I was contacted by Efren Cero regarding the Smart Station project, and I will be meeting him. The actual time is still undetermined, but probably sometime on this Friday, and I'll give a report on that meeting afterwards as well. Any other board member reports? Board Member Pratzelis.
Yeah, so I think I got the same request as Board Member Boren, and I'm actually, thank you for bringing that up. I am meeting with him on Monday to go over the project, so I will report back at our next meeting if there's anything new from that.
Chair Muser, for the record, which project is this in regards to?
That would be the Smart Station condominium project. Does that describe it well enough?
Thank you. Yeah, just for the record, I want to know which one you guys are reporting on.
Vice Chair Fennell.
I did receive a email from Efren Cero, but we have not reached one another to set up anything, but I will be sure to report on it when we do. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, with that, we will move on.
I think it's my turn now.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Let's have our staff report.
So not a whole lot of new information, just to let you know that our next meeting, we will get an update on downtown station area specific plan, and that update, though we've heard some of it before, will be more geared to how it can be used as a tool for this Cultural Heritage Board in reviewing your projects. I also want to ask that if anybody has not confirmed the outside training for Brownout Training that will not be held during our regular CHB meetings, but we've scheduled some other meetings where we won't have quorums. If you haven't already RSVP'd, yay or nay, please let me know if you can attend. And then also coming up, and I'm going to say I had targeted this meeting. Now I'm targeting July 7th, and we'll just stay tuned on that. I'm not committing yet, but we'll go over our rules and regulations for the Cultural Heritage Board. I'm going to ask you that when we send out the project or the meeting materials, when the agenda is uploaded, I'll ask that you all read those rules and regulations to make sure that you understand them. So if we need to make any clarifications, we do, because that is a document that you all will adopt. So, and that's all I have to report on.
Thank you, Staff Liaison Murray. We're all looking forward to that. So. Okay, so we do have a scheduled item set. Yes.
It looks like Board Member Boren is raising her hand.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking down. Go ahead.
That's okay. I had received from Dina Manis about the ethics training status. Is that something I need to do on my own?
I believe they do, they provide trainings for the ethics training, and I believe it's also a required training. Mm-hmm. So yes, I'm going to say yes, and if that changes, we'll give further direction. But I would ask Dina, and she will tell you everything you need to know about that. I'll tell you, drink coffee. Okay. That goes to regulations too.
Yes, when I joined the board, I was also required to take the ethics training, and it's given typically in their training room across the street from City Hall. It's, yeah, coffee's a good idea. Any other questions for Staff Liaison Murray? Okay, moving on. So do we have any statements of abstention from board members for item 7.1, which is the study session report on the Santa Rosa general plan update and input on the Santa Rosa forward vision statement? Seeing none, we shall move on then to scheduled items 7.1, again, which is study session, report on the Santa Rosa general plan update and input on the Santa Rosa forward vision statement. And our staff planner is Andy Gustafson. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Andy if we could.
Absolutely, and thank you so much. Cultural Heritage Board Commission or board members. We welcome this opportunity to come before you to give you an update on the general plan and our work currently to formulate a vision statement that'll guide the preparation of this plan for the next 3 years. I have a PowerPoint presentation which gives you an overview of the general plan and the process we're going through. And then I want to get to the second part where we have opportunity to have discussion about what matters most, what things work, what things don't work so well here in the city, and get comments. I also want to say now that you will have opportunity after this meeting to take a questionnaire that's available on our website, and I'll post the link to the website and the questionnaire during the presentation, or maybe I'll ask my colleague who's assisting me, Beatrice, to put those on, and you can go to that questionnaire later on as ideas come up and you want to augment what you've stated today. So let's commence. If we can share the screen, can you confirm that you are seeing the presentation at this point? Okay, you are. Great. Thank you. Next slide, Beatrice.
So most likely you're gonna have to scroll. This is a PDF, not a PowerPoint. There you go.
Perfect. Next slide.
You might be able to click those arrows up and down as well.
So the general plan is a document that really connects the dots in the city. It arranges or organizes land use. It provides the mechanism or framework in which we really strive to rationally organize our city so that we're efficient. Parking or jobs, housing, shopping, all those things are connected. And we do that through the land use map and plan within the general plan. Next slide. It also takes into consideration all the things that are necessary for our community to function. Police services, fire, school, transit, and how we organize ourselves in a way so that as we make decisions about services and land use development, people will have a voice in commenting. Next slide. So we branded this project Santa Rosa Forward in recognition that we're not looking back. Well, we need to look backwards to see where we've been, but we really do want to move forward and strive to achieve a future that fulfills the goals and expectations of our residents and the needs of our community. We get to rethink how we organize ourselves, how we provide services. So this is really the time where we get to think about the future and take action. And we jumped ahead. If we can go back maybe 3 or 4 slides. And I apologize, I wasn't able to operate the slides. Beatrice, if you can go backwards. Thank you. Advance 1. This is a 3-year project, and that second to the top line across the page is our community engagement program. You can see it runs throughout the entire 3-year program, and we will have opportunities or moments like this where we will be meeting with committees, commissions, community organizations. We'll be meeting with resident groups to review critical steps of the project. We are currently, that little rectangle shows us we're in the vision stage. You can see the subsequent lines and the bars kind of walking their way across to the lower left corner. Those are different major steps. So after we complete the vision phase, this summer and fall, we'll be going into the alternatives analysis where we looked at a variety of ways that we can achieve the goals and the visions that we are compiling today. So you will have another opportunity to speak. For us, to help us get community input, we've formed a Community Advisory Committee. This committee is a group of 25 residents, business owners in the city who reflect the diverse neighborhood's interests, racial, gender, age distribution within the city. And we're very proud to really have formulated a group that mirrors the character of the community. They will be liaisons for us. They will reach out to their friends, their contacts to help get the word out about the general plan. But they will also meet with us at these strategic times in various major steps of the project to give us feedback, just as we are asking you to give us feedback today. And I'll say this, a shameless plug, that we are always interested in CAC members. So if you know somebody in the community that wants to get engaged and you think they would be a good fit, please have them contact us. And we always are looking for members who want to participate. The other group that we formed is a technical advisory committee. This is very typical for a plan like this. This committee really makes sure we get the regulatory or state requirement parts of the plan correct, and also that we really are representing accurately all the different programs, requirements of the various departments and functions of the city. So they work in tandem with us to make sure, they're basically our peer review to make sure we get it right in terms of the technical aspects of the general plan. Next slide. We also have a website. The purpose of the website is to push information out, but also to collect information. We went live with it in December 2020, and it includes a lot of information. I would highly encourage you to bookmark the website. It's one which you can visit and get up-to-date information. And before this presentation is done today, I will add that URL so you can go to it and look at it. It has the schedule, and in a moment I'll give you the link to the survey or questionnaire I mentioned at the start of the presentation that you can take. Next slide. The survey really, we had our first survey in February, where we really were asking people to help us understand how residents were defining their neighborhoods. So we did this really interesting mapping projects where respondents mapped the center. You can see that on your left. And then also they mapped the perimeter of their neighborhoods. And what the message you see here is that we got tremendous participation. We got over 1,300 respondents, and you can see they're pretty widely distributed throughout the city. We're going to be using this information to help us really understand how best to reach out to the community where people live and work and shop. Next slide. Then after that, we convened a series of community vision workshops in each of the city council member districts. We had 10. In addition to the 7 districts, we had 3 that were in Spanish language or bilingual. And the goal here was to present draft vision statements for comment and reaction by the participants, just as we're doing today. And this discussion will help us formulate the vision statements that will be presented to the City Council and Planning Commission on July 20th. Next slide. So these next slides just kind of really summarize some of the input we've gotten from the surveys. You know, a lot of people define their neighborhood as sort of the geographic center of where they live, the area around them. Others define the neighborhood center as the place where they go and shop, where they do business. So you can see, you know, there's a pretty strong sense of what creates a neighborhood, and that really will help to inform us as we go forward in our planning process, how we might use neighborhoods as a means to organize our community outreach, but also think about policy and improvement on a variety of levels in the general plan. Next slide. Next, there we go. Here, next couple of slides, you know, we learned from them what are the biggest concerns on their minds. You know, everybody's concerned about natural hazards. Housing it continues to be very high. It's been high for several years. The need for enriching community amenities, parks, and such. And also, you know, bottom line, having access to jobs and economic growth within the city is important. Next slide. This summarizes, you know, what people were thinking that really, you know, the word excites maybe what they think is most important that we get right in the future. And one right off the top, very highly ranked, is affordable housing. And then the remainder, you know, environmental protection, equitable access to services, new jobs, economic opportunities, neighborhood connectivity. All those kind of all fall together in about the same priority level. So you can see there's a lot of things that people want to take on and address in the general plan. Next slide. So these community workshops were highly interactive. We had to adapt our community outreach in this COVID world where we relied upon Zoom meetings such as this. Our consultant team was able to collaborate or work with us to facilitate smaller group discussions and summarize the input that we got in a way that was more personal than a larger group. Typically, the participant group sizes in these breakout sessions is about what we have here today, 4 or 5 members. Out of these meetings, some words or concepts began to emerge, and around that draft vision statement center, you can see all these terms, and we began to formulate from this definitions. And really, these words, these terms, were intended to initiate conversation, you know, to start probing questions and dialogue about what matters, and help people think about what needs improving and what we need to help protect in the city as we move forward. And now I'll go through just briefly each of these terms. And those are terms just intended to provoke thought on your part about what you think is in store for the city and what you think you can improve or do better. Next slide. So one of the core principles is we want a city that's inclusive. It does not exclude people, that everyone's involved in decision making, and they're welcome to participate. And we want justice, social justice, environmental justice for all. And this really talks about the concept that certain neighborhoods should not be disproportionately burdened by, let's say, pollution, or everyone should have equal access to parks and amenities. Next slide. Paramount was everyone wanted a healthy city, a place that was vibrant, active, it was safe where people could gather. And I do here at this moment want to pause and just acknowledge that this general plan, if you've ever been involved with general plans in the past, this one is different because new state law and express direction from our city council is directing us to really take a close look at what we can do in our planning to facilitate healthy neighborhoods, places where people can live and thrive. And also we've had the good fortune of receiving a $600,000 Kaiser grant just to help us on this particular topic, to go above and beyond the state requirement. And as a result of that grant, we have the good fortune of having Beatrice join us as our public health equity planner. And she is a great partner in our effort and has shown her value in our outreach in this initial vision statement work that we've been doing with the community. And we'll be working rather deeply on this topic, diving into specific policy in the general plan that strives to have healthy outcomes. So this is a very exciting component to the general plan that we have not previously been able to incorporate. The other term on this page is resilient. People, it's important that our community, our services can be sustained and are capable to, can be adaptive to changes in our economy or in our environment. Next slide. The city, should be prepared. And this is something that cities typically do, through fire, police. It organizes itself to protect the citizens. And so we want to address hazards, natural hazards, and we want to be prepared in the event of emergencies. We also want to have a city that provides healthy and high quality shelter and housing for all levels of the community in terms of affordability, and that it provides housing for people who live and work here, and hopefully provide opportunity for homeless to find shelter. Next slide. And probably an overarching principle, the general plan, the city should be equitable, that how we administer and distribute resources, how we direct our development should help rise up, lift, elevate everyone in the community so that we can all enjoy long, fulfilling, and healthy lives. Next slide. Bottom line, as a city, as an organization, we need to be successful. But success should be shared across all neighborhoods and segments of our city and should support small business owners, large business owners, Latinx community members, all ages and backgrounds. And upon that, we will be able to accomplish a lot of our goals and objectives. The city needs to be connected. It can't function without, in addition to roadways for cars, and we need to make sure we've got good pedestrian access. That is a place where people feel invited to bicycle, and that there's good and efficient and easy, transparent access to public transportation. Next slide. And again, safety, like preparedness, is something that we all work with or for in the city. And it's really coming forward as a major issue in some of our neighborhoods that residents want to feel safe. And without that, they really can't thrive. So that's an important goal or principle. And the city is also a place where people can engage in lifelong learning, and we want to make sure there's opportunity, not just for school-age children, but for people who are in the workforce and need to be retrained or want to expand their horizons, as well as elderly people to keep socially engaged. Next slide. It was broadly recognized that our diversity gives us a lot of cultural character, and this should be expressed, embraced, and we have a lot of opportunity to recognize that as a way towards making our city a unique place to live. Sustainable, we need to make sure that as we're building, as we're managing our resources, they're being managed in a way that they can continue, that we're not using them up, that we have water resource protections, we have green space that everyone in the neighborhoods have access to. Next. So, this was a ranking, and it's kind of for your information. Sustainable ranked quite high. This was a ranking, a snapshot in time. It has changed subsequent to the meetings that were held. These 10 meetings at the district level were held in May, but subsequent meetings have moved these around. But this gives you kind of an idea where people are falling out on those different principles. Next slide. And these are the kind of words we heard. They're kind of scaled based on that chart, which are high priority and so forth, but they're all in there, right? So these are all things that we're going to be discussing as we move forward. And the vision statement really helps us think about, navigate with clarity towards a goal that informs our actions today. So we're not going to do the small groups because we already are a small group. And we have the benefit of being informal. And I think if we advance to the next slide, okay, let's back up. Let's go back to that last one, Beatrice. So here's where I just want to, say, now I'll turn this over to you. But first, before doing so, do you have any questions about the general plan? What is it in terms of a document and the process, or any comments about these principles, these vision statement ideas?
I don't know, Mr. Gustafson, if it was just my system, but you were cut off. At least I didn't hear part of that last statement. So could I ask you to repeat?
Yeah, so are there any questions about the general plan update process, or any questions and comment about those vision statement principles?
Okay, so I think what I'd like to do is we do have potentially members of the public who are signed in. So I'd like to open up public comment, just see if we have any members of the public who would like to make comments. So at this time, I'd like to open up a public comment period for item 7.1. Mr. Maloney, do we have any members who'd like to comment?
Thank you, Chair Muser. We do have one member of the public, but they are not raising their hand at this time.
Okay, we'll give them just a few more seconds. Okay, not saying any, then I'd like to turn this back to the board then. If any board members have any questions, comments for Mr. Gustafson, please raise your hand.
Chair Muser, if you can go ahead and formally close the public comment period.
I always forget to do that. Yes, okay, so we're closing public comment period. Thank you. Okay, any board members, questions, comments? Oh, board member Parcellis, please.
Hi, thanks. Thanks for the presentation. I'm really excited by a lot of the things I heard, and I took a quick look at the current plan, and I just thought about like the ways in which this one seems kind of different, and I saw the term maintain a lot in terms of the goals of the current plan, and I just think that the visioning process here, I'm really excited about the ideas of inclusion and making things equitable. It's just like moving things forward in that direction is great. My question is less on the visioning process that you're in right now and more about looking forward about some of the upcoming milestones specifically looking at like the environmental impact part of the general plan, which I think was in for like a year or a year and a half from now, that piece. And so I'm wondering, because I think that piece is probably the most sort of impactful for this group. And I was wondering, and I don't know if this is the right place for this question or this issue, but I know there's been discussion about the fact that the city's cultural heritage survey is pretty old and hasn't been updated in, I think, 30 years. Seems to me that fact really is going to be very relevant when we look at updating the general plan, look at updating the environmental impact of the plan. And it seems to me that addressing the fact that the survey maybe should be revisited, it seems like, I'm just wondering if that has come up as an issue and how it might impact the general plan.
Great question, and absolutely, I think it's appropriate to talk about what lies ahead in terms of the general plan process and environmental review. I would invite Susie to add on regarding the cultural resource survey. That is a project that I believe is underway. We have commenced work on that, and that will become an important component of the general plan. The general plan is kind of a massive aggregator. It pulls together so many studies, and this is the moment when we need to update studies like the cultural resources survey so that we're working from good current baseline information. So you should look forward to that. I'm not familiar with how that will be rolled out, but I can anticipate this board would be engaged in the review of that document. Susie, have anything more to add to that?
Yeah, I'd say that's a real good anticipation there. That's actually an item that is coming up. I have a meeting early next week, next Tuesday, to discuss when we can get a staff update on that. It'll come to you as a report item. The process is currently underway, and I know enough details just to be dangerous, but just to tell you, you'll be getting an update in the very near future. It'll be on one of the next, I would say, within the next 4 weeks, probably. If not in July, it'll be early August.
Yeah, so
I'm really glad to hear that. So great. Thank you.
So I don't know if you have more questions about the general plan process. We're calling it the Santa Rosa Forward process, and it is all-encompassing. It's comprehensive. So we do anticipate to have the alternatives roll out for public review in the fall. And I think I mentioned previously, we will be doing another round of outreach to city boards and commissions, as well as community groups and our community advisory committee. So.
Okay, Andy, I think we still have some more questions for you. Hang on there a second. Board Member Warren.
Yeah, I really thought that your vision statement was very well thought out, and the design is very captivating. And the breakdown. I'm just curious, do you have any idea what your initial projects are going to be after all of the planning is done? I mean, I was just curious how you'll begin to actually bring projects to the city.
Well, we're not stopping projects. As we prepare the plan, we continue to review and accept projects, and this committee and all the other boards and commissions are actively reviewing multiple family housing projects, city improvements, and that kind of thing. So we're not stopping work. I do see after the general plan is adopted, we will be going into a robust implementation mode, which might mean reviewing and revising our development code, including the historic cultural preservation regulations, as well as the zoning code, other aspects of the zoning code. So we're not stopping projects. We're basically building the airplane while we're flying it. kind of, sort of. We're not gonna stop. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other board member questions? Mr. Gustafson, so I have just one comment. Looking at the vision statements, and I know the vision statements, they're supposed to be very broad and very, not specific, but I'm wondering if any of those statements really represent the historic resources of Santa Rosa, the historic neighborhoods, not just the neighborhoods, but the historic resources. The only word in there was cultural, and it was kind of glommed in kind of with art, but in no other place in the vision statement does it really even consider historic resources. And I'm just wondering if it might be possible in those vision statements to either expand the cultural a little bit with some different language, or give historic resources their own vision statement. So just a thought.
That's an excellent point, and I'm so glad we were here before you, because that's the kind of input that we might have missed, not intentionally, but really to be overt and express historic resource protection is something probably we did not state and should be added. So I'm taking notes. I'm turning away. It's because I'm looking at what I'm typing to make that point. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's the looking in the rearview mirror of the vision with as far as the historic resources of the past. So,
well, we know part of the character of this community is defined by its historic neighborhoods and the protection of those resources. So that is I would say one of the foundational ideas of any general plan that this city would work with. We grappled and worked with that issue with the downtown plan. We will continue to work with that issue in our other neighborhoods in the general plan. So it certainly is worth making that an explicit statement, whether it's integrated with the other words, whatever form this final vision statement becomes, that we talk about that very clearly.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, any final comments or questions? Okay, well, Mr. Gustafson, thank you very much for an excellent presentation. We really appreciate you taking time to be here. And with that, I will close item 7.1.
May I, Chair, add a comment? So the intention was that we could, if it's the board's pleasure, to have a discussion about what you as individual members would see in this city as things that we should continue, that are good, that are attributes of this city that we should continue into the future, and then other things that you see as that need improvement, that are challenges that we need to address. So that what I just completed was intended to be the first half of the presentation as an orientation, and the second half to be a informal discussion, deliberation amongst yourself without final action.
Okay, my apologies. So 7.1 is still open. So.
Yeah, so I really, if through the chair, invite members just to comment, and chair, if you want to recognize members individually, I'll take notes, and I really would suggest that it be pretty open. And remember, you're not taking a vote on a particular set of statements. You're simply providing input as members.
Okay, perhaps give us those questions that you had once again, and then we can come back with those specific questions.
So for each of you, list the things about the city that you feel are important to continue, that are valuable, that for the city to continue in the future. And then those things that are problems that need to be fixed, that need to be addressed, to help to assure that our future it attains a goal of being an equitable place, a healthy community, a place where we're prepared or where we protect our cultural resources.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gustafson. We'll just go by the hand method. So if you have feedback for Mr. Gustafson, you can raise your hand. Board Member Warren.
I particularly feel that each neighborhood should have the services and the shopping, and it doesn't have to be huge shopping centers, but that each neighborhood have its own little business area so that people don't have to travel so far to get what they need. And it's kind of, there is that going on, but I think with proper planning, areas can be developed a little more to make it easier for the people who live in that community to have, and have really good, viable options.
I think that's a really good point, in that a lot of our historic neighborhoods are historically blue-collar neighborhoods, and a lot of them tend to be kind of grocery store desert areas. So anyway, yeah, I like those comments a lot. Board Member Pratt. Oh, Andy, would you like to comment on that?
Well, I was just going to prod or encourage Member Boren. Is there something? I mean, that seems like it's something we want to continue and encourage, these neighborhood shopping service centers. Is there anything you think really needs to be fixed for us to have a great future?
Board Member Boren, you're still on mute.
I know that Highway 12, for instance, has all of these things, but it makes it difficult sometimes for people to get there, and it creates more traffic. So if things could be more localized, but there's also the aesthetic of not just having a strip mall or not, but really, I'd love to see Santa Rosa Avenue look more beautiful. That's for those people who live in that area.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Board Member Pratt-Ellis.
Yeah, so I guess to echo kind of what Board Member Boren was saying, I think neighborhood-focused events are super fun, great opportunities for people to get to know their neighbors. I love what people were doing at Courthouse Square, having like community events, and I loved that new space, and having big public events there was really fun. I'm looking forward to doing that again. So I think that's something the city is doing really well. And I think encouraging opportunities for neighborhood groups to get together, not virtually, hopefully soon, and meet each other would be a great way to promote community. I think one thing that could be improved, and I was a little concerned that it was rated so low in the vision statements, was education and equitable education. As an aside, I think that rating those vision statements is a little strange because some of them overlapped. So you might just be rating one higher because you liked how it was phrased better. and some of them were more distinct, right? Sustainability didn't really overlap, so everybody voted for it. So it was number one by far. So I hope that the rating doesn't actually mean that some of them don't go forward, because I don't think the rating system actually worked very well. But my point about education is that, as a parent, I think it's really important that we have equitable schools and that every kid in Santa Rosa can have a really good education where they're safe and cared for and challenged. And that is not happening. There are some schools in Santa Rosa that have been bad performers since I was a kid, and they still are struggling. So I think that's really something that is not, when you look at equity, that is, you can't have equity if you don't have equitable education, and that is a real problem. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, thank you for your comment regarding the vision statement ranking. You're absolutely right. Those rankings, that popularity contest isn't going to drive the general plan. It was, I think, kind of an interesting thing to see where people were gravitating towards. And you are right, some of those terms are overlapping. The final vision statement that'll be presented probably will look very different, but they'll carry forward these concepts. And our hope is we will be able to allow people who participated see how their comments can track through to the final statement. So thank you for that.
I have a couple of comments for you. I think with the annexation of Roseland, I think there is some tremendous opportunity there as far as historic resources. And I hope that the new general plan might have something in there to be able to take advantage of that. Also, we've found through previous meetings, there have been some tough meetings regarding the downtown station area plan and historic districts, and where they kind of overlay one another as far as zoning code issues. So I'm wondering if the new general plan will kind of look at that and potentially help to remove some of the potential conflict it puts us all in dealing with some of the applications within the historic district. So those are the only two that I have.
And so response you're seeking for policy direction and clarification, how historic districts might change or evolve over time, and provide a balancing mechanism for decision-making in the future.
That sounds good.
It'll be a very engaging conversation, and I would, and I know and I welcome this group and others to be involved in that.
Yeah, I hope that we can. I hope that possibly a reach out or something, we can some of our members can get maybe a little more involved for the historic neighborhood side. Vice Chair Fennell.
I wanted to speak towards the community involvement in some of the grants that have been made available by the city. And we had a big neighborhood fest a little over a year and a half ago, and it was a big success. People were actually 2 years ago. So people were really excited about it. We had, were able to get out and meet our neighbors. We were able to have police and fire and library was here in the Burbank Gardens neighborhood to, speak on different programs. And that was really a great event. And I'm appreciating the grants that are available in neighborhoods for things like art and in the neighborhood and cleanup and and ways for the neighborhoods to gather and discuss problems and goals. And we have in the Burbank Gardens neighborhood association, and just in a couple of weeks we're going to have a yard sale within the whole neighborhood, and it's going to be advertised, and just encouraging neighborhoods to get together and look out for one another and know each other. And I like that. And I like that and would like to see that be something that continues. And on the other hand, I would love to see something happen with answers for the homeless in Santa Rosa. I think it's a bad look for the city when we have Santa Rosa Avenue, and some of our neighborhoods filled with tents and, restaurants that are having problems because there are people camping just outside their parking lot, and the, motorhomes parking up and down different streets and stuff. And these are impacting people. They impact their home values. They impact, you could lose several tens of thousands of dollars if you have a camp, a camp caravan outside of the house that you're trying to sell. And there just doesn't seem to be enough answers for those homeowners and enough answers towards plans to take care of that. Everybody kind of is, right now, the thing is we just throw our hands up and we say we just don't know what to do, or we can't ask people to move, and we can't. There just needs to be some much better direction on the homeless, and that would be the thing that I would like to see. And I think that it will make our city look and present better, and be more healthy as well. So that's all I've got.
Sheriff Fennell.
So if I may respond, I'm really glad to hear you had experience with those Neighborhood Fest programs. These are community engagement department has been making those grants available, I think, for years, and they're very successful, and great opportunity for bringing the scale of the city down to where the local residents can engage, having the police meet kids and fire department and so forth. So I think what I want to follow up is this general plan, while it needs to address issues community-wide, we're striving to work from the neighborhood level and engage people on what are citywide topics, but at the neighborhood scale where it's meaningful. And in that way, help to convey and gain understanding that the general plan is consequential. It can, with its program and policy, help to resolve maybe the issue of homelessness where they can be in the city, or help to create better connection and engagement between residents and city departments. But probably most importantly, make connection amongst the neighbors who otherwise might be too busy or active to really have a moment, an event to come together. So I think that's a really cool idea. And we're going to be reaching out, I think I mentioned, at these various major steps of the general plan with this sort of formal programming. But we'll be having ongoing outreach to give updates or address specific issues as they come up, as people ask them. And we would welcome the opportunity, for instance, to talk about cultural resource protection and general plan policy at a point in the future. So through your staff liaison, we would be more than welcome to come back to talk to you. So Yeah, thank you for your comment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Guston. Any other comments or thoughts?
No, I see that I don't have the ability to type in chat our website and comment, email. What I will ask the secretary to do is, if I may, send an email to you with the survey. I would really encourage you to take a look at that survey. I mean, we've talked about a lot of ideas and things, and it often takes a little time to digest those ideas, to come up with maybe your complete thought on what you think might be done to improve or enhance the city. So the survey or questionnaire is a great way to do that. And also, I want to make sure you have our website. So should something come up, you can go there and find out, where we are in the schedule, or read documents, reports, and that kind of thing. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and I hope that we will see you soon, if not before next fall.
Well, thank you very much again. So are we now ready to close?
You may close.
Okay. So no other comments. We will close item 7.1, and seeing no other board business, I believe we're ready for adjournment. So at this time, I'd like to adjourn the Cultural Heritage Board. Thank you all, board members, for attending today.